PowerBoat Television is brought to you by Yamaha. Conquer water with Yamaha. Ford F-Series. Smart, tough, capable. And BoatBuys.com. Over 60,000 new and used boats for sale. One way to describe where we are is to say we're on Lake Conlin in Osceola County in Central Florida. But the better way is to say we're back at Lake X, Mercury's private testing ground. And if you're here, you want to go fast. Now that Mercury Marine is officially back, Mercury Racing, the crazy cousin with all the cool toys, has powered its way in and can be found dialing in their boats and motors on the lake. And in a moment of, this seemed like a good idea at the time, I accepted the offer to get behind the wheel. And Tim, our throttle man from racing, pushed the two 300Rs and got us up to 103 miles per hour. That's 166 kilometers per hour, the fastest I've ever driven anything on the water. And even though he didn't panic, the pucker factor was high when we hit a few waves that rocked the boat at speed. Though it actually feels more aircraft than watercraft at high speeds. Even Sarah, our awesome story producer, got behind the wheel and cracked triple digits, which left me to be a passenger in the back seat for important work like 100-mile-an-hour selfies. But high-speed hijinks aren't why we're here. Later that night, we were at an exclusive dinner reception where Mercury said they were going to introduce yet another new motor.
Without further ado, the president of Mercury Marine, John Pfeiffer.
The all-new 400 horsepower Verado, underline the word Verado, outboard engine.
The next day, we got out to see them on the water. So other than removing the word racing from the cowling, what's the difference? Well, in short, this gives you everything you expect about a Verado, from the color options to the smooth and quiet performance. There's an impressive power-to-weight ratio. These actually weigh the same as the 350 Verado, 668 pounds. It's a 2.6-liter inline-six with dual overhead cam and 24 valves, and uses a 5.44-inch 1.75 heavy-duty gear case, and has 4 color options and 3 shaft lengths, 20, 25, and 30 inch. But the most important number to most people is the price, and the MSRP is $34,135 US.
But enough jibber-jabbering about specs and horsepower. Let's see how it runs.
It's basically the opposite of me. It's nice and quiet and performs as expected. And man, is it powerful. A single 400 got this 27-foot-long pontoon whipping around at 50 miles an hour like it was nothing. And when you have a multi-engine setup, watch out. In the last half-decade, outboards have gone through a massive resurgence, and you're seeing them on more and bigger boats every year. Mercury's president says that's not stopping anytime soon.
Well, we know where the industry's going. Average horsepower continues to go up. Outboard technology continues to get more and more refined. We're making the engine's sound and vibration better and better and better. So we'll continue to innovate on the upper end. That's where certainly a lot of consumers really want to see us continue to innovate.
The other big outboard news from Mercury for 2019 is actually some small news. It's this, the 5-horsepower propane. When I say propane, I mean, yes, the exact same that you have in your barbecue. So you could use this on your grill, come back, plug it in. It'd be perfect for camps.
This actually made its world debut at the Toronto International Boat Show in January, so I've been eager to test it out.
Now we're cooking with gas.
This will be a hit with campers and sailors, or even as a little cottage kicker on a boat for your kids.
You know, now that I think about it, when we were here last year, there was an alligator in this little pond. Guess we could catch him, hook up the grill, and have some gator bites.
Gator harvesting aside, that barbecue idea was actually a major motivator behind this.
You know, there's a big opportunity to give people that use a 5-horsepower outboard a much more convenient, easily usable fuel system than conventional gasoline.
And the silver lining is it's more environmentally friendly as well, since propane doesn't have the same evaporative emissions.
And if you're at the campsite and there's a barbecue emergency, you just bring your boat back and hook up the fuel tank.
Later in the show, we'll take a look at the technological innovations that Mercury is working on.
This lift is great, but if the guy wants a platform, which most of them do,
Yep,
they can go to you now.
absolutely.
Last year, we met Blu Gagno, who introduced us to his latest Blu Water lift system for personal watercraft. Since then, Blu has expanded his operation. The most obvious progression? To longer tenders on bigger boats. But we found out there's even more Blu on the horizon. Back at Heinz Marina, we caught up with Blu and his team, where this time they were working on a 40-foot Sea Ray sedan bridge. Now this is something new for you guys. You're now doing platforms as well, because you know this lift is great, but if the guy wants a platform, which most of them do, they can go to you now.
Absolutely. Yeah, we do everything from swim platforms to plastic to foam tech, you name it, we do it. Anything from the transom back, we'll bolt it on the boat. We'll make it fit.
That's Blu Water lifts.
That's right.
In fact, Blu Water Marine has access to over 600 swim platform molds today, with more being added regularly. These all-composite platforms are vacuum sealed for maximum durability and come with a 15-year warranty. And if you're worried a bigger one might be too heavy, you might be pleasantly surprised.
The swim platform that we took off this boat today would have easily been 300 pounds. Mind you, it was full of water, which didn't help. This swim platform here would probably be 120 pounds.
Not only does Blu Water Marine supply the lifts and platforms, they install most of them as well. They might appear easy to install, but in reality, few are simple or straightforward.
We've installed hundreds of these now. They're very experienced. It takes time. You have to be very patient when you're measuring and making your fits and making your curves.
Now underneath, I noticed a whole bunch of stainless reinforcement plates, and you mentioned earlier you had to drill those on site.
We did, yeah. So we don't drill any of our plates until we get to our boats because we never know where things are going to sit. Right. We've run into problems where we've drilled through transoms and there's been water lines in the way or fuel lines or electrical. So, you know, sometimes you got to move that plate over a little bit or move the hole over a little bit. So we don't drill them in our shop anymore. We wait till we get here. So we bring a drill press with us, we bolt it down to a trailer, and we start going at it.
How heavy are those plates?
The plates they weigh a little bit. They're 1/4-inch plate, and it's all stainless.
If this was just a platform install, these plates might be a little overkill. But this customer wanted a lift as well, but not just any lift. Last year, we saw you install a heavy-duty lift in a boat.
Yep.
This looks a little bigger. What have we got here?
Yeah, this is our extreme heavy duty. This is more or less built for large center consoles. The gentleman that we're putting, this is a 13-foot center console with a 50-horse Yamaha, I believe, on the back of it.
And it weighs like over 600 pounds?
Oh, yeah.
The new super heavy-duty lift has the same great features as the heavy-duty we checked out last season, including low-friction roller wheels and a dependable Warren winch with remote and a smooth synthetic line. With the push of a button, deploying and recovering your tender couldn't be easier. One of the best features of a Blu Water lift is the fact that it does not take up much space on your platform, especially when the tender is in the water. There aren't any big plates or pulleys to trip over when you're handling lines near the dock. No matter what size your platform is, it's nice to be able to make use of all of it. The length of the dinghy you can carry is somewhat restricted by the beam of your boat. You don't want it hanging out too far over the sides, or it might drag in the water when turning. And as far as weight goes, the super heavy-duty lift can hold over 1,200 pounds. But Blu recommends keeping the dinghy under 1,000, which is not a problem with most aluminum ribs like this Highfield. So Blu, I gotta admit, this looks almost like a factory install, and it sure beats towing a dinghy like I do.
Yes. Yeah,
So-
you don't want to tow.
No.
Yeah,
Well, thank you, sir.
no problem.
Whether you're tired of towing your dinghy, your family wants a bigger swim platform, or you just want to update the look and feel of your boat, Blu Water Marine is your one-stop shop. Turnaround times for most installs can be as little as 2 or 3 weeks, depending on the season, of course.
John's just up the hill, parking the F-150. Let's take a minute and look at the boat we're going to be surfing on before our friends get on board. Now, surfing, hugely popular, and this is a hugely popular boat. A couple years older, so it'll save you a couple bucks. This is a 2015 Super Air Nautique G23. And this particular boat has this upholstery color pattern in here that might be my favorite on any surf boat I've ever been on. At the helm, you also have another little storage compartment for your phone, keys, and you've got video and audio jacks here and another 12-volt. Obviously, right at the helm, built right in, you have the multi-function computer here, from ballast tanks to all the switches and things you need, to your music, navigation, you got everything. And obviously, your speed gauge that has the zero-off speed control, which is vital for surfing. You can just set it and you can hammer the throttle as hard as you want, and it won't ever go above that speed. Lots of high backrests facing the surf action, but if you need more, you have this spectator's bench, or judge's bench, I suppose. Right here, folds out, nice and sturdy. You can watch, and with one hand, away it goes. Here, in the office of the G23, you'll see the low profile right at the waterline platform with the sturdy handle to crawl out of the water. Cooler right back here. And from the walk-through to the swim platform, in the cockpit, in the storage, in the glove box, you'll see the EVA foam, which helps back here make it non-skid. Also, light on the foot, no hot foot going on. Nautique was actually one of the early adopters of EVA foam, and this is a 2015. You see it on a lot of new boats, but to find it all over the place on a 2015 doesn't happen all the time. But it's on this. Okay, this is probably where the editor is gonna cue the blooper reel, but I have found one complaint and one problem in my eyes on this G23. This is awesome. Nice and secure if you want to use it as a seat. It also folds down to fill out a long bench. But you have two latches here, and you need to engage both to lower it down. So, unless you have a friend on board, I don't know how you do it and keep your dignity. This thing has a ton of ballast, but it doesn't chew up all the room. You got enough storage for a canvas, safety bag, fenders, and right in the middle here, the beast, the PCM ZR450 6-liter.
And you'll need that power to push the thousands of pounds of ballast, all your friends, and this big hunk of a beauty that is the G23. And it's perfectly paired. It's responsive, it kicks out a huge wave that even a beginner can rock, and most importantly of all, it's a lot of fun. And that, after all, is what boating is all about.
This is the Patrol 600, the smallest boat in Highfield's patrol fleet. This is the Patrol 600, the smallest boat in Highfield's patrol fleet. Hang on a minute. Before we show you how this boat drives, let's first take a look at some of the standard features on the Patrol 600. Designed for commercial use, the first thing we notice is the not-so-commercial gray and red colors, making for one sharp-looking boat. Then we see the size of the rub strakes. Not only do they wrap all the way around, but there's an extra vertical strake at the bow in front of the mooring bollard that would help keep an anchor line centered. Just behind the massive bollard is a dedicated anchor locker. The forward bow seat is cushioned and flips up to reveal more storage, while also covering the fuel fill. All Patrol model fuel tanks are integrated under the deck. 37 gallons of fuel weighs over 200 pounds, and distributing it below the deck helps spread the weight out while keeping the center of gravity low. This heavy-duty console is about the only fiberglass part on the Patrol 600. It is intentionally narrow to provide maximum cockpit space, but still provides decent storage. The helm is Spartan yet functional, with room for larger electronics. Large, sturdy grab handles hint at the true capability of this hull. A local marina resident suggested we visit Stiltsville, an interesting destination on the edge of Biscayne Bay with a somewhat mischievous past. So, we decided to take the Patrol out there for more colorful scenery.
We're traveling right now at about 7 knots, and that's about maximum bow rise, and I can still see clearly over the bow. But that flare in the bow, that's designed to keep you dry. That really helps keep the water away. Once again, Highfield really has nailed the ergonomics. It's a very comfortable console, a great flip-up bolster for easy access, and lots of room here to maneuver around. The windshield offers quite a bit of protection. It isn't glass, and there is a slight bit of distortion where the bend angles are, only about an inch. Nothing that really interferes, but it is nice to have that wind protection.
It doesn't take long to get the feeling that this hull is very different. Highfield uses marine-grade 5000 series aluminum in their hulls, but Patrol boats get the tougher 5083 series aluminum with 6 to 10 millimeter stringers, all designed to take a serious pounding. The great thing about aluminum hulls, they are strong and light, which means you don't need a lot of horsepower to get high levels of performance. 115 horsepower might be enough, but with the 150, this boat is pretty quick. We measured a time to plane of less than 4 seconds and a top speed closing in on 50 miles per hour.
Instead of just one lifting strake down each side, this boat actually has reverse chines on the outside. It rides a lot higher out of the water. In fact, you can get this boat riding where the pontoons are not in the water at all.
Just check out how this hull slices through the waves. Rough seas should not be an issue, and your passengers will be pleased with the ride quality, especially on longer trips.
I'll tell you something else. This boat is so maneuverable. It is an absolute blast to drive. Amazing how it turns, just amazing. You can turn this boat in almost its own length. It's incredible. You can even control ventilation if you're careful with your turn. But if you control the boat's attitude, with those big reverse chines, she digs in and just turns.
There are a few different configurations available, with options such as jockey seats, roll bars, and even an inflatable sundeck. While engineered for commercial use, a Patrol would make a fantastic family boat, especially if you want to explore larger bodies of water and want the added security that inflatables provide. With relatively calm seas, we were nowhere near approaching the limits of this hull, if there are any. The ride is extremely soft, and our only regret was not having more time to explore further.
Autonomous docking. So check this out. I'm gonna not dock a boat. Look, ma, no hands.
Eight decades ago, on January 22nd, Carl Kiekhaefer purchased a bankrupt engine plant in Cedarburg, Wisconsin. And at the 1940 New York Motorboat Show, the Thor engines, model numbers K1 through K5, were introduced. And one of them was even brought to this year's Toronto International Boat Show to show where they've come from. And what a long, long way from Thor that is.
So in 1939, Carl Kiekhaefer started making marine motors. 80 years later, they're still doing that, but there's a lot more in the Mercury family now, including the Power Products acquisition that happened a couple months ago. So I'm here with Daniel Clarkson. How are you?
Awesome, Stephen.
We're not talking about the motors right now. We're talking about basically everything else.
That's right, because people don't go engineering, they go boating. So what we've been able to do is bring all of those technologies together to make that a much more seamless and user-friendly experience for everybody.
In August of 2018, Brunswick, which owns Mercury, acquired Power Products. And it means you have things like this: wireless fobs that have proximity sensors. So you could have one for your kids that limits the RPM. It could be programmed that when you walk up, the lights come on, or it'll only start when you're nearby, or man overboard warnings. It's basically taking ideas from the auto world that can work in the boating world too, and also coming up with unique to the water features as well, like a warning if the swim